where legends breathe again. Eldmyth. A storm tears across a mountain peak, lightning flashing over stone and cloud. The wind howls, a primordial force tearing at the very rock. Below, the world is shrouded in cloud and shadow. This is not a place of gentle wisdom, but of raw, untamed power. The atmosphere is electric, charged with the promise of cataclysm and creation. We are witnessing the moment before a world-changing event, a place where the very fabric of myth is woven. The air crackles, not just with lightning, but with the tension of a divine headache, a pain that will soon give birth to something entirely new and formidable. This is the prelude to one of the most extraordinary births in all of mythology, a genesis that defies the natural order and establishes a being of unparalleled intellect and strategic might from her very first breath. The pain was not metaphorical. It was a searing, splitting agony that drove the king of the gods to his knees. Zeus, the cloud gatherer, the wielder of the thunderbolt, was brought low not by a titan or a rival, but by a consuming pressure within his own skull. The legends say he had swallowed the titaness Medes, the personification of cunning wisdom, fearing a prophecy that her child would surpass him. But wisdom cannot be so easily contained. It festered and grew, forging a new consciousness within the divine cranium. The great god Hephaestus, the master smith, was summoned. With a double-edged axe, a tool of both creation and destruction, he brought it down upon the brow of his father. And from that cleft, from that wound of intellect and power, she emerged. Not a mewling infant, but a fully grown woman, clad in gleaming, impenetrable armor, a helmet of polished bronze upon her head, and a spear of deadly sharpness in her hand. Her war cry was not a scream of rage, but a shout of strategic clarity that echoed across the heavens, silencing the thunder itself. She was Athena, and her first act was to announce her dominion over the civilized mind in the midst of primal chaos. This dramatic entrance defined her essence. Athena was a paradox, a goddess born solely from the masculine principle, yet embodying a form of strategic warfare that stood in stark contrast to her brother Ares, the god of raw, bloodlustful conflict. Where Ares reveled in the chaos of the battlefield, the gore and the frenzy, Athena represented the general's brilliant plan, the unbreakable phalanx, the defense of the city walls. Her wisdom was not the abstract contemplation of philosophers, but the practical, applied intelligence that wins wars, governs justly, and builds civilizations. She was, first and foremost, the protector of the polis, the city-state. Her sacred creature was the owl, a bird that sees through darkness, a symbol of knowledge that pierces through ignorance and confusion. Her tree was the olive, a gift she would famously bestow, representing peace, prosperity, and the cultivated wealth that comes from settled, intelligent life, not plunder. Her patronage extended from the battlefield to the loom. She was Athena Erging, the worker, the patron of craftsmen and artisans. The same strategic mind that could devise a battle plan could also conceive the intricate patterns of a woven tapestry. The same hand that could wield a spear could guide a potter's wheel or a sculptor's chisel. She represented the ideal of a balanced life, where martial prowess was tempered by civic duty, and both were informed by skillful artistry. This duality made her one of the most revered and accessible of the Olympians. The farmer praying for a bountiful harvest, the potter seeking inspiration for a new design, the general contemplating his strategy on the eve of a great battle, all might lift their voices to the gray-eyed goddess. Her favor was not won through blind sacrifice, but through demonstration of mettle, cleverness, and dedication to one's craft, whatever that craft may be. The most profound testament to her importance was the city that bore her name, Athens. The myth of its founding is a perfect allegory for her nature. Both Athena and the sea god Poseidon desired to be the patron of this fledgling city on the Attic plain. The king, Cecrops, declared a contest. Each deity would present a gift to the people, and the most beneficial would win their allegiance. Poseidon, striking the Acropolis rock with his trident, caused a saltwater spring to burst forth, a symbol of naval power. but the water was briny and undrinkable. Then Athena stepped forward. She knelt and with a gentle touch caused the first olive tree to spring from the barren earth. It provided wood, oil for light and cooking, and food, a sustainable source of wealth and peace. The citizens, recognizing the greater long-term blessing, chose Athena. The city was hers, and the magnificent Parthenon would rise as her temple, a permanent declaration that wisdom and cultivation would always triumph over brute force in a civilized society. This wisdom, however, was not without its stern and unforgiving side. The story of the mortal woman Arachne serves as a chilling reminder of the dangers of hubris before the gods. Arachne was a weaver of such sublime skill that nymphs would abandon their groves to watch her work. She claimed her talent was innate, a gift of her own making, denying any debt to the goddess. Unable to tolerate such pride, Athena descended to earth, disguised as an old crone, and warned Arachne to show respect. The girl, arrogant, challenged the goddess herself to a contest. Athena shed her disguise and the contest began. Both wove tapestries of breathtaking beauty. Athena's depicted the grandeur and power of the gods, including her own victory over Poseidon. But Arachne's tapestry wove a different story. It illustrated the amorous deceptions and transgressions of the gods, their follies and deceptions laid bare in thread. Even Athena, in her righteous anger, could find no flaw in the technical mastery of Arachne's work. It was perfect, but the subject was an unforgivable blasphemy. Enraged not by the skill but by the insolent message, Athena tore the tapestry to shreds and struck Arachne on the head. Overwhelmed with shame and despair, the mortal woman tried to hang herself. But the goddess, in a twisted act of pity and eternal punishment, would not grant her the release of death. She sprinkled Arachne with a potion made from Hecate's herbs, and the young woman's body shriveled, her limbs lengthening and thinning. She was transformed into the first spider, condemned to hang from a thread for all eternity, weaving her beautiful webs, a perpetual reminder that no mortal, no matter how gifted, should challenge the divine order. It was a harsh lesson, a demonstration that Athena's justice could be as cold and precise as her strategies. Beyond the loom and the city square, Athena's guidance was crucial in the most epic journeys and battles of myth. She was the steadfast patron of heroes, but not all heroes, only those who exemplified the qualities of intelligence, perseverance, and cunning. Her greatest protege was Odysseus, the man of twists and turns. Throughout his 20-year odyssey, stranded, tormented, and tested by gods and monsters, it was Athena who watched over him. She did not fight his battles for him, she sharpened his mind. She was the whisper of a clever idea, the sudden disguise that opened doors, the surge of courage at the critical moment. When he washed up, naked and alone, on the shores of Phaeacia, it was Athena who guided the Princess Nausicaa to find him, not as a terrifying stranger, but as a man to be pitied and helped. She orchestrated the circumstances that allowed him to tell his story and secure his passage home. Her interventions were masterclasses in strategic influence. In Ithaca, she appeared to Odysseus's son, Telemachus, not as a goddess, but as the wise mentor meant. She galvanized the timid young prince, urging him to stand up to the suitors plaguing his house and to venture out in search of news of his father. She planted the seed of kingship in him, transforming him from a boy into a man worthy of his father's legacy. And when Odysseus finally returned, a beggar in his own hall, it was Athena who cloaked him in her power, alternately disguising him and then, at the pivotal moment, restoring his heroic stature, making him appear taller, more massive, filling the suitors with awe before their well-deserved slaughter. The great battle in the hall was not just a test of strength, but the culmination of a decades-long strategy, a plan conceived and nurtured by the goddess of wisdom, proving that the most powerful weapon is not the spear, but the patiently waiting, brilliantly calculating mind. Her role in the other great epic of the age, the Trojan War, was equally pivotal and deeply personal. The war itself began with an act of judgment that she lost. The apple of discord thrown by Eris was to be awarded to the fairest goddess. Paris, the Trojan prince, was chosen as the judge. Hera offered him kingly power, Athena promised him wisdom and victory in war, and Aphrodite offered the most beautiful woman in the world, Helen. He chose Aphrodite, setting the stage for a decade of bloodshed. From that moment, Athena's favor turned decisively against Troy. She became a relentless and formidable force on the side of the Greeks, though her methods were, as always, intellectual. She guided the arrows of her favorites, protected the ships from fire, and most importantly, she provided the ultimate stratagem that ended the conflict, the Trojan horse. The idea was born not in a war council, but in the mind of Odysseus, undoubtedly with her divine inspiration. It was a concept of pure, deceptive genius that could only be beloved by Athena. To build a colossal wooden horse, an offering to the goddess, and hide the best of the Greek warriors within its hollow belly, while the rest of the army pretended to sail away. The Trojans, believing the war was over and the horse a sacred trophy, brought it within their impregnable walls. That night, while the city slept in drunken celebration, the warriors emerged and opened the gates. The sack of Troy was not merely a military victory. It was the triumph of a clever lie, of psychological warfare, of a plan so audacious it was irresistible. It was the ultimate expression of Athena's domain, winning a war not through 10 years of siege, but through one perfectly executed ruse. The very horse was dedicated to her, a symbol of her particular brand of destructive intellect. Yet Athena's stories are not solely of war and harsh justice. She was also a nurturer and protector. The story of the infant Arachne reveals a different facet of her character. Hephaestus, the smith god, once pursued Athena, desiring her. She repelled his advances, but in the struggle his seed fell upon the earth, Gaia, who then bore a child. Athena, taking pity on the unnatural-born babe, claimed him as her own. She placed the infant in a sealed chest and gave him to the 3 daughters of King Cecrops, Aglaris, Herse, and Pandrosos, with a stern warning never to open it. Overcome with curiosity, 2 of the sisters, Aglaris and Herse, lifted the lid. What they saw inside was so horrifying. The child was partly serpentine, that they were driven mad and threw themselves from the Acropolis. Athena, thereafter, raised the child, Arachne herself. He would go on to become a legendary king of Athens, and the serpent became a symbol of the city's autochthony, its birth from the very soil, protected by the goddess's wisdom. Her influence extended into the very fabric of Greek identity and daily life. The great Panathenaic festival, held in Athens every 4 years, was a spectacular celebration in her honor. It featured athletic competitions, musical contests, and poetic recitations, rivaling the Olympic Games. The highlight was a grand procession that ascended the Acropolis, where a new, specially woven robe, a peplos, was presented to the ancient wooden statue of Athena Polias. This robe depicted the battle between the gods and the giants, with Athena triumphant over the giant Enceladus. The entire city participated, a vibrant, living tapestry of citizens, medics, and animals, all moving in a coordinated, celebratory flow towards the sacred precinct. It was a ritual that reinforced the social contract, a demonstration of civic pride and piety orchestrated under the watchful, gray eyes of their patron goddess, binding the community together through shared myth and shared reverence. The legacy of Athena did not fade with the fall of the pagan world. She was seamlessly adopted into the Renaissance as a symbol of wisdom, learning, and the arts. She became Minerva in the Roman tradition, and her image was painted by the masters. Botticelli, Raphael, and countless others depicted her as the embodiment of reasoned intellect. She appears in the frescoes of great libraries and universities, a timeless emblem of the pursuit of knowledge. In the modern era, her influence is ubiquitous. She is the namesake of cities, schools, and space programs. She appears in comic books, video games, and blockbuster films, often reimagined but always retaining her core attributes: the helmet of strategy, the shield of defense, the spear of focused action, and the owl of penetrating insight. She represents the ideal of the warrior scholar, a figure who uses strength in service of wisdom, not the other way around. So who is Athena? She is the explosive birth of an idea into the world. She is the strategic plan that wins the unwinnable war. She is the patient skill of the artisan's hand. She is the olive tree growing in a wasteland, promising peace and prosperity. She is the stern warning against overweening pride. She is the protector of the just city and the guide of the cunning hero. Her story tells us that true power is not brute force, but the application of a disciplined, creative, and morally grounded mind. In a world often ruled by chaos and passion, Athena stands as an eternal testament to the virtues of reason, foresight, and civilized order. She is the brilliant, unyielding light of the intellect, a light that continues to guide us, millennia after her name was first spoken. Another legend fades, but the next awaits. Like this video, subscribe and continue the journey through myths.